to Coaching with the Bible. I know you've missed it all week, and now we're back for another one on the cusp of the holiday of Hanukkah, which is coming in just a couple of days, late into December, closing on the end of 2022. This is episode 118, season 3, episode 9. Portion of the week is the portion of Vayeishev. We now move deep into the story of Joseph and his brothers, the life and times of Joseph in Egypt, how he gets to Egypt, what happens in Egypt, his relationship with his brothers over the course of the next couple of weeks. It's a repository of enormous amounts of content relating to team building, which we've talked about in the past, communications, which we've talked about in the past, listening, which we've talked about in the past, and this year we're going to do opportunity. So our topic for this week is spotting opportunity. Over the course of the next few weeks, actually, we'll sort of roam between the different portions because the different themes and the different topics really come across in different moments throughout the different portions of the week. And so we'll get a little bit more, I would call it thematic, than specific to the portion of the week. And we're going to go a little bit wider today. So I initially had an idea about something else entirely for this week's podcast, but I ran into someone this week on a Zoom who had been a board member at an organization that I worked at many, many years ago, and it sort of triggered a memory that I had of meeting him all those years ago. I'm working with a lot of organizations still, and this organization in particular has, I would say, a fairly impressive board. A lot of organizations have really impressive boards, and happens to be this person that I'm thinking of, a very impressive person who I'm sure if I told him this story would not remember it happening so many years ago. Anyway, I was working at an organization, and this person had been the president of that organization, and he walked into my office one day and he asked me how it's going. And I proceeded to share all the research that I had done and all the information that I had gathered, and effectively was putting together a proposal for where I thought we should go with the work that I was trying to do. And it listed off a whole slew of what I had called problems, real problems. And he looked at me and he said, "There are no problems. There are only opportunities." And I was struck by the language, by virtue of the manner in which he said it. It was very sort of calm, cool, collected, but very confident. But it was very sure. He was very sure of himself when he said it. There are no problems, there are only opportunities. And so when I saw him this week on this meeting, this sort of triggered my memory for that moment. And it's an interesting concept. What does it mean to have an opportunity? What is an opportunity? How does an opportunity different than a threat? How do we find opportunities? Where do we find opportunities? And what do we do with them when we find them? It's such an interesting sort of thing. I was reading an article earlier this week. It basically said that two people can look at the same thing, and one will look at it and see opportunity, and another person will look at it and see threat. One will look at it and see opportunity, the other one will see problem. One of them will see opportunity, the other one will see risk. And all those statements are true. In fact, I think the same person at different points in their life would see something as an opportunity and another point would see it as a risk. So let's say it's starting a business. So perhaps at an early stage in life, one would look at that as a massive risk, a massive opportunity for failure. But maybe later in life, a person would look at it and say, oh, that's the opportunity. That opportunity presents itself now. And so it's interesting to sort of think about opportunity, or the opportunities that we've had, or the opportunities that we're going to have in our life. The truth is about opportunity, there's so many great quotes about opportunity. There's so many ways to think about opportunity. There's so many ways that we could go when we're talking about opportunity. So I thought I'd share a really bad joke to start, which goes like this. Knock, knock. Who's there? Opportunity. Don't be silly. Opportunity doesn't knock twice. That is the dad joke of the week, but I think it's really apropos because we think about opportunity, we think about the opportunities that we've missed, we think about the regret that we've had, around the opportunities in life that we've missed. And we are very often quite weary or leery or nervous about not having another opportunity come our way. And so I was reading an article by a gentleman by the name of Bernard Marr, who is an author, a fairly prolific, actually, writer on articles and books, speaker, very interesting person, who had the following quote about opportunity. Opportunity doesn't always present itself as the easiest option, but sometimes as a reward to those who keep working. In other words, the idea here we're going to talk about a little bit more in just a moment is that we work up to opportunities, that we have to be prepared for opportunities, ready for when the opportunity crosses our path. So we're walking in a certain direction, opportunity is coming in the other direction, and when those two things meet, we have to be ready to take advantage of the opportunity. We'll talk about that quote, and just a little bit more about that in just a second. Where does it come up in this week's reading, in this week's portion? So it's actually initially in my mind about a missed opportunity, which actually then leads itself to a larger conversation around actual good opportunities. The missed opportunity is this. The Bible tells us that when the brothers have now conspired to get rid of Joseph, Reuben, the eldest brother, comes to save the day. He's a almost hero. And when they have this idea first and foremost to kill Joseph, to rid the family of him, Reuben says, no, let's not do that. Let's put him in a well. And we learned that the idea that Reuben had was that he would come back later and he would rescue Joseph. And that when he later on comes back after they've sold Joseph and he's fraught and destroyed and devastated and can't believe it and doesn't know what to do and doesn't know what to say, it's because he had this plan in mind to come back and rescue Joseph. Now, that's obviously a missed opportunity, but that's not exactly the focus I want to share with you, which is this. There is a midrashic and exegetical statement that appears in relation to the story of Boaz and Ruth and the story of Aaron and Moses, which connects the story here of Reuben, Aaron, and Boaz together. In that in each case, each of them seem to have missed a moment or missed an opportunity. And the case of Reuben is the one that we just mentioned. And the commentary there says, the Midrash says there, that comment says that had Reuben known that the Bible would record that he would have attempted this, then instead of doing that, he would have carried Joseph home on his shoulders. The second one by Aaron is that had Aaron known that the Bible was going to say that he was smiling and happy when he learns about Moses being the leader and not him, that he would have made a parade in that moment. And then the Bible says that, the commentary then says later as well, that with respect to Boaz, that if Boaz realized that when he gave food to Ruth, that the Bible was going to record it, that he would have gone to extraordinary lengths to have done more for her and given her all kinds of different amazing, incredible foods there. And each one of them, it teaches the idea that they had done something, they had attempted to do something good. In the case of Aaron and Boaz, whatever was good was good. In the case of Reuben, it was missed. But the idea from that story, or from that comment, is that they had missed doing something even greater. They had missed an opportunity. Imagine if Reuben had actually saved Joseph, how that changes the story. Had he had not gone for sort of second best in that moment, but actually in that moment stepped up and said, hey, this is not going to work. We're not doing this. I'm taking Joseph home. How that could have propelled a different narrative for the entirety of history. It's a missed opportunity. It happens that when you look throughout the Bible that Reuben, or the tribe of Reuben, continues to sort of miss opportunities to really operate at an optimum level, but that's beyond the scope of now. But Aaron in the same way. Aaron does a good thing. He's happy that Moses is chosen. But had he known, he would have thrown a parade. So why not just throw the parade? Missed opportunity. I don't blame them. They didn't sin. They don't need to atone for it. It's just a missed opportunity. Flip it over and look at the actions of Joseph in this week's portion, and you see a person who is constantly paying attention to opportunities. I look at his dreams, and I obviously we know that in sharing his dreams with his brothers, he invited their wrath. But let's put it in context. He's the 11th child to be born, 11th son to be born. He's fairly young. He's much younger than his brothers. He's a teenager. He's a good-looking kid. How do you stand out amongst 11? He knows the history of the family. He is close with his father. He knows that his father has a certain affinity and love for him. So he's stepping out a little bit. He's trying to show a little bit of personality. He's trying to be an individual. And when his dreams talk about him leading and being a leader and being a king and all this other stuff, so he shares it because he's excited about the opportunity that it presents for his life in the future. But it's not the only times. Once he gets to Egypt and he's in the house of Potiphar or he's in the jail, every one of those moments, he is working hard, he's putting in max effort, and he's also seeking opportunity. The one I would share with you, the most obvious one, is when at the end of the portion, when you have the story of the two princes of Egypt, the two members of Pharaoh's cabinet who are now in Egypt who dream. Notice that at the beginning of that story, we talked in the past about it, where he listens intently to what they say. Here, before he is in the space of listening, he is inviting the conversation. He is proactive in those moments. He steps into those moments, perhaps hoping for something to come out of them, but he's prepared. The same way that at the beginning of next week, when he meets Pharaoh and he has to interpret those dreams, he clearly in that moment is pitching an opportunity when he talks about a viceroy or somebody to come in and to save the land of Egypt, obviously thinking about himself. I'd use the term opportunistic, but I think that word has such negative connotations, so we can't talk about him being opportunistic. But on some level, he is seeking opportunity at all times. Joseph is not waiting for life to happen. He is seeking it at every moment. He's paying attention to it at every moment. It's the secret of opportunity. In his case, it's not only that, he is inviting it, but he's attacking it also. So it's why he asks the cabinet member, the winemaker, to speak to Pharaoh on his behalf, because he's looking to do something. He's looking to accomplish. He's looking to have an impact on the world. He's seeking an opportunity to get out of prison, to do something with his life. He senses something greater than what is his now current situation. So he's an opportunity seeker. I don't think that's all bad. He doesn't let, as Bernard Marr talks about in his article, he doesn't let setback sideline him. He doesn't see his failures, or the moments tildeness now as failures, as any reason to stop, but really more as a sign to keep going. It's just not yet the time. It's just not yet the moment. That moment's coming. I'm going to be ready for it. I'm going to be there. It's going to hit me. I'm going to be ready for it. I'm prepared. And the reality of it is that we know this also from our own lives, that opportunity often comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. That is his words as well, I think, Bernard Marr. Opportunity often comes disguised in the form of misfortune. I'm sorry, that is not from him. That is a quote from Napoleon Hill, who wrote, Think and Grow Rich. Opportunity often comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. And so all of these things are true at the same time. It's just a question a lot of the time of perspective. How do we think about this? How do we think about opportunity? What kind of opportunity person are we? What kind of, let's call it like an opportunity seeker are we? I'm going to assume that we're not completely afraid, that we are locked in a room, afraid of trying anything new, stepping out into anything different. I think all those things, I'm not going to say that's the case here. But I saw a really great article by Amy Wilkinson, who we mentioned 2 years ago in the portion of Lech Lecha, when we talked about Abraham as a spiritual entrepreneur. Amy Wilkinson is a management lecturer at Stanford Business School, and she codified sort of an approach to thinking about 3 different kinds of people who seek opportunity or entrepreneurs. She has architects, sunbirds, and integrators. Architects are people who see what is not there. They pay attention to that which other people are overlooking. They're looking to build new models from the ground up. The examples she gives are Elon Musk, Jack Ma from Alibaba, the sense that they see the way a certain business or industry operates, and they build an entirely new paradigm from the ground up. That's an architect type of opportunity seeker. The second one is a group called sunbirds. Sunbirds are like, you can think of like snowbirds, people who are traveling from one place to another, but sunbirds really specifically actually travel from one flower to the next, bringing the pollen from one place to the next, and they're pollinating along the way. They are transporting ideas from one place to another. An idea is already fully formed, but it doesn't exist in another location. So think about Howard Schultz at Starbucks. The idea of an espresso bar or a coffee shop, the way we currently have them, the way they're set up, already existed in the world, just didn't exactly exist in America in the same way that it existed in Europe. And so he transplants the idea, he transports the idea with some variation and gets it to work in the United States and builds Starbucks. The third one is called an integrator. So an integrator is not a person who's transplanting. It's not a person who's building it from the ground up. It's a person who has the ability to sort of see multiple things happening at the same time and to combine them into some sort of new novel interpretation of the multiple things that already exist. So if you think of the example she brings is Chipotle food, obviously it's not a food I've ever tried, but the business model is fast casual. Quick service food, but it's from scratch cooking, it's batch built, it increases and decreases in terms of the amount that is produced based on the number of people who are requesting it. All of these things are true at the same time. There are all kinds of different ways, and a person can be one, can be two, can be all of them. So there are different ways to be someone who is an opportunity seeker and how you would then see opportunities. So if you're an integrator, that's the way you operate. You're not looking at the industry the way, say, Jack Ma or Elon Musk is looking at it. You're not looking at it in the way, say, Joseph is looking at it in next week's portion when he innovates the entire idea as to how they should save all the produce and all the food. That's a different kind of idea. It could be that some of Pharaoh's people had shared ideas with him, just not that one. And so we always have to sort of be paying attention to what's going on. We have to, as I saw an article from the Michigan University Center for Entrepreneurship, the idea that we have to sort of always be seeking out what's the need. We have to be focusing on what's the need. We have to appreciate that what it is, it has to work in the location where I'm choosing it. So if Joseph comes up with the idea of refrigeration, electrical refrigeration in Egypt, not going to fly. It doesn't work in a time when there's no electricity in that space or in that place, right? It has to make sense for the place that it is. Otherwise, either he's too early or maybe he's too late. And so we have to continue to do these things. Other things that happen with people who are seeking opportunities. How do we see opportunities? How does that happen for us? And so we have to be paying attention really all the time. Because if you're an architect, you have to see things as they are to be able to then see things as they could be. But you have to be paying attention to everything that's going on. You have to listen to the people that are around you. So what are people in the industry complaining about? What are their needs? What pain can you heal? What bliss can you bring to their pain? Sort of how to think about it. And then as you come upon something that's happening, things sort of snap into place. The other thing you can do is you can observe competition, which is not you coming up with a new idea, but it's you sort of thinking about things in a slightly different way and then calling it whatever you want to call it, but establishing something that's different than what's already there. And so whereas Reuben misses the opportunity, Joseph seems to try to nail every single opportunity. I once heard it explained with respect to Reuben, Aaron, and Boaz in that text. This was many, many years ago, where by David Foreman, who is founder, CEO of something called Aleph Beta. He's written multiple books, fascinating individual, really intellectual scholar. Shared an idea about 20-something years ago. I heard him speak on a Sabbath somewhere. And he said that what's going on in this text is we're not blaming them for missing the opportunity. But we have to appreciate, as he explained, is that all of life exists with background music. There's always music playing. Like you watch a movie, he explained. There's always music that's playing that sort of foreshadows or foretells sort of the pace of what's going on in the scene. So you're not going to get like happy joy music in a horror movie. You're going to try to get the pitch right for the music, for the moment, for the scariest moment. The music adds to the power and the essence of that moment. Try to watch a movie without the soundtrack. See how it changes. And so what Rabbi Foreman explained is that Reuben missed the idea that there's a soundtrack playing and that this was a crescendo moment, and he wasn't paying attention because he thought this was a pause in the action. And so what happens is we have to be paying attention for the music to be hitting a crescendo. We have to be paying attention to the idea that, ooh, is this the moment? Ooh, is that the moment? I'm always up. I'm always paying attention. I'm always focused. I'm always thinking about what could be the moment that's in front of me. This could be my moment. Abraham Lincoln is quoted as saying, I will prepare and someday my chance will come. And so we have to always be prepared. And even when the door closes on one opportunity, we have to always be prepared for the next opportunity when it comes. Alexander Graham Bell is quoted as having said, when one door closes, another door opens. But we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the ones which open for us. And so an opportunity knocks, we have to appreciate, as someone else said, it doesn't nag. It knocks. If we don't answer, it goes away. So we have to be in the ready moment, listening to the soundtrack music of our life. Is it at a crescendo moment? Is it heading towards an uphill moment? Is it heading towards an exciting opportunity that's ahead of me? I'm ready, I'm prepared, I've thought about this, I've thought about many things, I'm in this moment. And then the last thing I would say here is a quote, and I know we've gone a little bit longer today than I have over the last number of weeks. I mentioned this quote before, I'll mention it again here. I mentioned it to a lot of people. It comes from the hip-hop preacher Eric Thomas, who I'm a fan of. And he said that you have to take advantage of the opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity. He was talking to a group, I think, of college athletes who have been handed a gift. Full scholarship to, in many cases, terrific school in a place perhaps that they may not have been able to attend on their own. And not necessarily all of them are going to be, professional athletes, but they've been given a gift, an opportunity to get an education. Or the case of a superstar athlete, the opportunity to show off their skills, to get to the next level, to become a superstar. But that opportunity doesn't last. And so you have to take advantage of the opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity. Don't miss it. Because the worst thing that could happen is that you miss it, and that it goes away, and then you missed your opportunity. And so Joseph is ready and waiting. He's ready to pounce at every moment. He's looking for it. He's seeking it out. He's thought things through. He's tried things and he's failed. He's tried another thing and he failed. He sees a new opening, he goes for it. He hears whatever it is that Pharaoh is sharing with him next week. Boom. The brothers show up in Egypt. Boom. He is opportunity. He's all over it because that's the way in which Joseph operates. It's not the way in which Reuben operates, and it's not the way necessarily that a lot of us necessarily operate. So we have to be in that mindset of prepared, ready, almost chomping at the bit for when every opportunity presents itself. I'll finish with a quote from Winston Churchill, and with this we'll finish out the conversation about opportunity. Let's really take advantage of the opportunities that come our way. Let's seek out great opportunities. Let's not be afraid of those opportunities. Let's step into those opportunities as uncomfortable and as difficult perhaps as they may be. And as Churchill said, a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. That is Coaching with the Bible for this week. See you next week. Those of you celebrating Hanukkah starting on Sunday night, happy Hanukkah.